Hello, ladies and gents. Welcome back to Naturally Catholic. I'm Heather.
I'm Kyle. I want to introduce myself.
Okay. Thank you guys for being here today. So today is Thursday. Last Thursday, we did not record a video, and I feel bad for not recording a video. I felt like we let you guys down. For those of you who watch our videos, we let you down. So last Thursday was just a day. It was a full day, and we didn't get around to it. So sorry. Here we are.
Yeah, so obviously last Thursday I was kind of busy, we didn't get around to it, but this Thursday we are making an effort to do it. And so today we wanted to talk about like clutter and how to declutter, some of the decluttering that we're still working on ourselves, and kind of observations that we've made over the years as we've removed certain things in our personal lives. And so it's interesting how, you know, your spiritual life can become cluttered with things that we give too much attention, and the same with your physical life in your house.
Yeah. So why do you think clutter in our homes can affect us in a negative way?
I think it's because the same reason that, like, you know, if you ask certain psychiatrists, if you give a kid too many toys to play with, it can almost actually cause them to have anxiety, right? Because they have these different toys, and I play with this one, and I play with that one. And so when you have a home and there's a lot of unnecessary clutter that you have, it can almost be kind of the same thing where you feel anxious, like, okay, well, I need to clean this now, I've got to keep up with that. And so I don't know, maybe that's not, you know, the answer you're looking for, but I guess to me, more is less. And so the less you have, the more you can kind of enjoy the space, or the more time that you have that you're not worried about, like, picking this up or cleaning that, or whatever that might entail, right? So if you don't have a TV, that's more time that you have, obviously, or you should have, to yourself or with your family. If you don't have 17 pieces of furniture, it's less time you got to spend dusting each one of them.
Yeah, that's true. I can attest for that, for sure, in the toy situation. So I'm not a huge fan of toys. I try to steer clear of them as much as possible. Christmas and birthday parties absolutely stress me out with the toy thing. I always want them to get like books or something educational that I can put to good use, but they flood the house, and so what do? We keep them around. We end up finding pieces of broken toys all over the house, and I end up throwing them away. He tries to keep them. I don't know why, but I have a rule in our house. So the kids can keep a small basket of toys, and if it overflows that basket, then we just donate it or we throw it away if it has no purpose. And same with our other ones. They have containers, and they have to fit their things in the containers, and if they don't fit, then we get rid of it. So we do this with our toys, our clothes, and basically everything in the house. And this really helps to, like, at the end of the day, whenever we're cleaning, it helps us to clean quicker, and it's not so stressful at the end of the day with so much that continues to pile up.
Yeah, I think part of the semi-minimalist approach that we have, right, is just having the necessities that you need. And then if you look at your closet and you have 5 different jackets, do you need all 5 of them? When's the last time you wore them? If you wear it once a year, or every so often, then maybe it'd be better used to somebody who actually needs it. Same thing with the toys. You know, a lot of times if I'm saying we're not going to throw a toy away, it's mainly because we spent money on it because my wife made an impulse buy. But no, so that's kind of the approach. And so why is that important? Well, I think that part of it is for us in this day and age. I know we've talked about how much of a consumerist society it is, and how we're getting pushed to, like, you need to buy this new car, you need to buy these clothes, and you need to have these shoes, and you have, like, all of these things. And it's part of just being content of heart. Like, pray to always be content of heart and be content with what you have. There are going to be times when, yes, like, you know, do you have to, you know, buy some new shoes because the old ones are worn out? You need to get some new pants for work or for church. Do you need to have a car to drive? Sure. There are some of those things that are, you know, necessities in our day and age. And so the thing, though, is how do you consciously decide between, okay, for example, when you get a new family car, okay, can we be content with the van that checks all the boxes, that we know is at a fair price, that will get the job done, or do we need the one with all the bells and whistles and everything else on it? And so depending on where you're at financially, then that's something that you sit down with your spouse and you talk about, and that's a good opportunity. And even if maybe you can afford the brand new car over here, you still buy this one because it makes more sense financially, and you're also being content of heart. You're saying, you know what, this is what we need, and that other one's really attractive. That's a really cool, bright, shiny object over there. But how do I temper down that desire for something that really I just need to be safe, to get me from point A to B, and to just get the job done?
Yeah. That's a great example. Another thing I wanted to mention is I feel like when there's less distractions such as toys and social media or movies, games, all those things, our kids, and I guess I notice this more since I'm home with them throughout the day, but they are more creative when they have less things surrounding them, distracting them from using their creativity. So that's another reason why I am so big on not having toys in the house and really trying to give them tools and things that are going to help make them creative. And I think that that's helped my oldest son a lot, and also my second oldest son, because they're very creative. And I'm not trying to say our children are the best, but they have really come into their own creativity. And they like writing stories and drawing pictures and making books and trying to figure out ways to invent things. And so I think that has a lot to do with the home and the atmosphere that I've tried to create for them.
Yeah, because again, going back to the culture we're in, unfortunately, it's not unnormal to see a mother with her children, and in order to keep their attention, sometimes even in mass, when you're at the doctor's office, whenever you're out to eat, they give them a tablet, they give them their phone, and they let them just scroll mindlessly through it. And they don't I don't think that a lot of parents and people in general don't understand how detrimental that is to a child's development. Mm-hmm. And so, to Heather's point, while sometimes my kids are trying to pay me rent money to use the office upstairs because they want to make it a lab, and I've got to say, well, that's got to come with some disclosures and some agreements about what's not going to go on up there. A part of me enjoys that. A part of me enjoys them wanting to go out to this lab to do experiments, right? They're going to make web shooters like Spider-Man, or they're writing stories like Heather said, or my other son, we got him just a blank comic book so he can make his own comic book stories and really use his imagination, really use his mind. And so why is that important? Again, tying back to decluttering, not just with physical objects, but with your time in general. And so if you don't ever unplug from the iPad, if you don't ever turn off the radio, if you don't ever get out from in front of the TV, if you don't ever just find time to be in silence, whether it's morning prayer, whether it's driving to work with the radio off, or whether it's your children who wake up early and you say, you've got two options. You can either read a book or you can sit there.
Yeah.
A lot of amazing things happen whenever people just sit there, right? Think about it. When do your best ideas come? Probably in the shower, or when you're driving.
Or when you're bored.
Or when you're bored. But a lot of times, a lot of people say their best ideas come in the shower. Why is that? Because that's probably one of the only times in your day.
In the shower.
That's probably one of the only times in your day when you literally just have you and your thoughts, to where it's quiet. You don't have to worry about the kids. You don't have to worry about everything else that's going on. And so build on that. You know what I mean? And so again, just in keeping with the decluttering, physical objects, sure, where you can. I think everybody can understand what that means in their own personal lives and where they're at.
So, as spring approaches us, maybe take a paper and a pen and write down some things that you have not used in the last 6 months. And if obviously it's something important like a generator, don't throw that out. But if it's something that's not as important, like, give me an example, something that's not as important.
I don't know. I mean, we've gotten rid of so much of our stuff. It's hard for me to think of.
We've done a pretty good job of making sure our closets.
I think it's up to each and every person in what it is you do in your daily life, or your situation. But I think to Heather's point is just
if you just haven't used it in the last 6 months, then when are you really gonna realistically use it? And another thing I wanted to mention, just a little tip, something that I started doing. One, I love finding clothes at thrift shops and resale shops. I have no problem reusing and buying used clothes. I think it's a great way to save money, and if there's nothing wrong with it, then buy it. This is actually something that I bought at a resale shop, and this is one of my favorite shirts, and I think I got it for like $5. But anyway, the other thing I was gonna say is something that I've started doing when I hang up my clothes and I put it back in my closet, I actually put it closest to the wall. And if I don't use, at the end of the season, if I don't use the clothes that's closest to the other side, I plan on taking that and I donate it. So then I know, okay, obviously this season I didn't wear these 3 long sleeve shirts, so I have no use for it. Let's get rid of it, give it to someone else, kind of thing. And so that's just a way that I try to keep my closet minimum.
Now, husbands, don't let that backfire on you either. To where it's like, like, I haven't worn this in all season, so I'm gonna need to go shopping.
I think that women too, speaking for myself, we evolve. And so I'm evolving into a different woman, a different time of life.
Different tastes.
So like, I feel like now as a 30-year-old woman,
we can't go from decluttering to like, well, how do you just maintain the clutter?
No, it's just like donate and then find items that are gonna fit you for the next 10 years and then donate. It's all part of like the whole, cycle. But anyway, so that is our take on how to declutter your home and just trying to simplify your every single day, and how you can do that with your kids as well. Okay, so now let's just kind of shift into something else.
So I guess the shifting would be, we talked about decluttering some of the physical objects and in our house. How can we declutter some things that will help us grow spiritually? What is some of the clutter that we have that kind of we can be mindful of in order?
You see my notes. Okay, so I have notes now that the secret is out. Okay, so I just wrote down a few ideas because I was thinking about things that could steal our peace and for our soul especially. And this is just from personal experience. Social media, obviously, I mean, everybody knows how much time is wasted on social media, and it's not just in that moment, it's when you're really trying to focus, like the next day or the next morning or whatever. It can be hard to get all those thoughts out of your head. Like you'll think of like, oh, that idea that I saw on Facebook, or that idea I saw on YouTube. And so like when I'm trying to concentrate in prayer, those thoughts are running through my head because I've watched that all day yesterday and now I'm trying to focus. So, getting rid and decluttering social media. How much time do you really need to spend on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and TikTok and YouTube and I don't know, there are more other ones that are out there. And what is that doing for your soul? Like, is that helping you grow in any way? So, unless it's our videos. But seriously, like those are the things that I know for me, take my peace. And other things can be the media, like the news and movies that aren't beneficial to our soul. But yeah, so those things are definitely things that I think steal your peace and your soul and rob you of time that you could definitely spend in prayer.
Yeah.
Or doing something spiritual like reading.
Yeah, so I mean, instead of TV, maybe use that time to read, or for prayer, or for silence. Find time just to cut out the noise and really spend time with like learning who you are, who God created you to be. What are you passionate about? The more that you do that, the more that you spend time in prayerful meditation, the more time that you spend in silence, the more time that you spend just with your own thoughts, the more you really can start to get better at it, right? The more you spend time in quiet prayer, the better you're going to feel when you have that time. And if you don't make a conscious effort, like if you are plugged in to so many different outlets, it is very hard to really ever feel a connection the rare times that you might find the silence to pray, because you're just not accustomed to it. And so like people say, practice makes perfect, and that's true, in many areas of our life.
And your mind is not silent because you're constantly, watching all these things, so your mind is not used to being in that silence.
Stimulated, yeah.
And then another thing I wanted to talk to you about, we personally are homebodies. I mean, I've evolved into one because of him, but we don't like to go to a lot of places or do a lot of things. We don't go to the mall or take our kids to crazy events or anything like that. And I think today I feel like, especially around the holidays, people are always trying to do all these things and drag their kids around to every event so they can have the picture or the experience. And I think they miss the point on the weekends when, that time could have been much more valuable sitting around as a family, maybe, just chatting or playing family games or just cleaning the house together and growing, or having that time to have, one-on-one time with your spouse.
Yeah, I think that in our day and age that being a homebody has a negative connotation, and I don't think it should. I don't think that because you're a homebody that makes you weird. I think that being a homebody for me is because this is where I find solace. This is where I want to be. I want to be home with my family. I don't need to be stimulated by going out or being around a bunch of people. Now, do I enjoy the moments whenever we get together with friends and we do something? Of course. but I don't need that every day. I don't need to be around people every day. I don't need to have that sort of reinforcement. And I think that a lot of people who do need that a lot of times is because maybe either A, there is something lacking, and maybe they don't realize that they could find that within their family if they just maybe change the lens that they were looking at things through. So another thing is like, you know, like homeschooling used to have a negative connotation until very recently. Now it's very popular, and it seems like, hey, used to homeschool kids were weird. Well, now if you send your kids to public school, they're probably going to end up weird because of all this stuff going on. And so I think for people, the main thing is to be comfortable with who you are and have conviction. And for me personally, if people think that maybe it's off or weird by the world standards, then that kind of makes me think maybe I'm on the right track. And so to Heather's point of being a homebody, and now she is, I know she says that with a grin, but it's actually a really cool thing though to really enjoy that weekend, because we know, hey, either the kids can go fishing in the pond, or we're gonna do a project, or we're just gonna sit around the house.
But some of our funnest moments happen when we have nothing else to do and we're just hanging out. Like those are some of my favorite times.
And I think one last thing on that too is that a lot of times too, I think people maybe feel pressured to have to go spend time because they don't want to say no, or they feel like it's rude to maybe turn down an invitation. And to that, I would just say that your time is very valuable, and how you spend that time is very important. And you really have to know when to say yes to certain things, but you also have to know when to guard that time, because you're not going to get that time back. And so if you're trying to, if you're going to school, for example, and you're trying to make good grades, well, yeah, it's gonna sound fun to maybe go party with your friends or to go do anything but studying, but how does that protect you and what you're trying to achieve? Are you guarding your time? And if you're not, then you're not getting that back. And so I think that that's the other thing too, is that, you know, as I grow and get older and I look back on my life, I would rather think about all the time and the weekends that we got to spend with either, you know, friends or family, but mainly our immediate family, and think about, there was no regrets in the fact that I got to spend a lot of time with my family. It wasn't, you know, always being filled with other things. And again, just to clarify, I'm not saying that it's not good to have those weekends where you go spend time with friends or where you go spend time with family. I just want to make sure that we understand that your time is important, how you spend that time. And your children, if you have young children, they should take up the bulk of your time. And that doesn't always mean going to a movie, doesn't mean you always gotta be taking them to do something. It can mean just sitting with them on the couch, embraced under your arm, and just talking with them, letting them read or be there in silence.
Yeah, so I think that was a great explanation of how to spend time with your family.
Yeah, so takeaways are like, you know, be mindful of the physical objects you have, what you do and don't need. Be mindful of the other things that try to steal your focus, and then be mindful of your time and how can you declutter some of the time drains that can take away that time.
Yeah, go delete all the apps off your phone. Just do it. Declutter it. Declutter your phone, declutter your house. Maybe even if it's just a drawer or a closet. Start somewhere. Just one drawer.
Everybody's got a junk drawer.
Yes.
So that's the hardest thing in the world to declutter, is the junk drawer. I don't know, it's like you declutter and then it just comes all right back. I don't even know.
Like, where'd this come from? I don't know. Shove it in the junk drawer.
Yeah. So maybe don't declutter the junk drawer.
Yeah, leave
everybody
that.
needs
Everyone needs one bad thing.
The catch-all.
Yes. But anyway, we hope you guys enjoyed this video. And until next time, we will see you guys in the next video next Thursday. If you have any ideas, topics, please shoot them in the comments down below. If you want to ask Kyle and I a question, also shoot that in the comments down below. And we will see you guys in the next video.
God bless.